Another question here in the audience. This guy looks kind of familiar. You kind of look like Don Dodge.
Yes, I am. Yeah. Hi, Jason. Hi, Chris. Don Dodge from Microsoft. I'd like to continue on that theme of looking into the future and how you identify those trends. Obviously, you don't have to be first to be best. There's a long list of fast followers who have done very well coming after the initial pioneers. So I'd like to ask the question of both of you. Arguably, there are other companies who have done what Mahalo was doing or what Topix is doing before you started. So what new trend or what new angle did you see in your companies that made you want to go do your companies?
Why don't you go first? And I'll think about the question so I can answer it.
Thanks.
Better.
Appreciate that. Yeah, right. So actually, that is something we thought about. So we came out at Topix with a news product right after Google had come up with their Google News product, and so we clearly couldn't compete square on with Google in the news space with an aggregated news product without something else. What we did was categorization. So we had technology that clearly differentiated us and Google. Google is a search-based news product. We decided to be more of a directory-based news product where we'd have, in our case, 300,000 different news pages based on location and topic. And it turns out that when we launched that, we thought that it was going to be, the idea of being completely encompassing was going to be the big advantage. What we learned was that 50% of the traffic went to the 10% of channels that were aimed locally. And so it turns out that was really where we wanted to put all our focus, because it turns out that not only do you have to provide something of value, but you have to provide something of value that's different than other folks. And so focusing on the differentiation, in our case local, has been the place that has the most sustainable marketing presence for us. And it took us a while, and you had to have some courage, which we didn't have for the first 2 years of our product, to say, okay, let's really hone in on the thing that we're different. And eventually when we went there, the advertisers and the customers or the users that we have are much more tied into Topix, because we realized, hey, it was about the local as opposed to being the all-encompassing news product. And I would say once you've got that, then you actually can compete. Like in the case of Google, they launched the local, zip code level local news. Now, I wouldn't write those guys off, but they did that the day after my birthday, which was great. It's like, thanks, guys. But it turns out that really hasn't been a huge focus for us, because they've really taken the Google News audience and given them a local piece, as opposed to going after the greater audience with local news. And then we also decided to put in some differentiation in terms of community. So we put in a bunch of people to be able to comment back to the news. And what we learned was doing a search product against something Google was doing, kind of hard. But if you gave people something completely different and something that Google could not follow you, which is they have no desire to go into the whole user-generated content space, that worked for us. So yeah, I would say concentrate on the differentiator and get there as quickly as possible. If you're launching something that's in the same space as other people, like in MySpace's case, I would say that they went after music and they went after all the folks that Friendster didn't want to have, which are people sort of self-promoting a false identity, perhaps. So again, I think it's the differentiator.
Yeah, and I think as an entrepreneur, you sort of see data points that start supporting your argument, and you triangulate on a market. So search is obviously a big market, and it's a big problem. And Google doesn't want to get into content, and Google doesn't want to do community building. It's not their speciality. And in fact, the only company that really would want to do that is Yahoo, with their Delicious acquisition, Flickr community-based images, which is also an incredible search product. It's probably the best image search available.
Out there, yeah, absolutely.
Out there. Delicious, the best sort of social search product out there. But they couldn't put it together, and also Yahoo had answers.
Right.
And so watching the trends actually in other markets, in this case Korea primarily, and also Japan and China, people had built new types of search engine that were maybe 50% algorithmic search, and then the other half was community-based search, Q&A, content, and so we saw an opportunity there. Somehow, if you mix search, content, and knowledge exchange, Q&A, you're going to make some kind of a page, a topic page, that is going to be fulfilling for people. And so that was our observation, was that there was some innovation left, and that the innovation would come through humans and community.